Welcome to our fourth and final Lunch and Learn with Carolyn Burns-McCrave. We're coming to you live from M+Co Living here in Bayside. In a minute, we'll cross back to our guest speaker where we are talking about the secrets to nailing a project brief. Hang on the line afterwards. There will be a Q&A session, and then after that, we will recreate our showroom walk for you so that you can actually see what we've got on offer, and we'll point out some of the features of our showroom so that next time you are in town, please make sure that you come in and see us here at M+Co Living.
Late comers as well, but just thought we would get a start on today. We've got the lovely Caroline in the back here. Might just get... No, you're so fine. I just didn't want to introduce no one. I was like, where's Caroline? Yeah. So we're just waiting on a few more people. We've got people scattered everywhere, but that's okay. We've got the live streaming starting at the moment, so that's fine. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
So for some of you, you've been here the last 3 sessions. For some, it might be your first as well. It's been a really successful Lunch and Learn series that we've had, and we're ending it on a bang with Carolyn. We're really excited for this one, and I know it'll be lots of fun. So thank you everyone for coming and taking time out of your day to attend. It's lovely to have you all here for our final instalment. As I said, it's going to be a great afternoon. So we're especially excited to have Carolyn join us. Carolyn's a leading interior designer with more than 28 years of industry experience. And many of you may recognise Carolyn from her time as a judge and design mentor on Channel 7's House Rules, which is amazing.
I wasn't the judge, I was just the mentor.
Design mentor.
Yeah. I
Mentor.
judged all the time, but just didn't make it to air.
So today, Carolyn will be sharing her insights on secrets to nailing a project brief. This is an essential part of any successful design process and something Carolyn has truly mastered over her career. So once Carolyn presents, we'll then get into some question time. We'll allow for 4 to 5 questions. We'll kind of keep it short and sweet. If you do have any other questions or you think of anything during Carolyn's presentation, feel free to put up your hand. It's a great opportunity to have an open discussion, we find. So if you think of anything, just pop your hand up and Carolyn will answer the questions. So after the question time, we'll go into a quick mingling break, grazing, drinks, all the rest. And then after that, we'll go into a quick M+Co presentation, showroom tour, and we'll discuss our warehouse sale that we have currently at the moment. So until then, I'm Michaela. So if you have any questions, please ask me. I'm marketing manager here. We have Matt Renwick, who is our national account manager. Sue Donovan, head of sales. We've got Karen, who is our Ember Arc BDM. We'll get more into the Ember Arc later. And we've got the tech boys at the back, Connor and Dylan. So yeah, any questions throughout the afternoon, just let us know. So over to you, Carolyn.
Thank you. Thanks, Dal. Now I've got to see if my clicker works. Oh, yes, okay. Otherwise, if I don't stay on topic, I will just waffle. So I've got my bestie over there that's going to give me that. Patrina, I'll also get you to give me that if I waffle too much, because she knows what I'm like. So yes, I've been an interior designer for a long time. I was really lucky that I had 8 years at the start of my career working for Andrew Parr at SJB. Which was a great day. The clicker doesn't like me. It worked earlier and we were so sure it was going to be fine. Oh, okay. All right. No, that's way... Hang on. Oh, do you know what? It just listened to my clicks but just did them later. So, yeah. See, I got a bit carried away. Okay. So, I'm going to talk to you about nailing a project brief because I really believe it's the most important part of the design service that you offer, and if you don't get this part right, you can sort of be on the back foot all the time, and that's absolutely not where you want to be. So getting this part right, even though it seems like a lot of brain space to get it right, it really makes the difference between making that client feel that you see them, you hear them, you understand what it is they want. I often have clients say to me, oh, it's like you walked into my head and looked around, and that's what you presented, and that's really what you want to be trying to achieve. So it's not the scope of works. The scope of works is obviously the services that you're going to provide, or it's the list of what's actually going to be done in the job. So generally you'll have already met the client and put together a scope of works, and from that you'll have already done your fee proposal. So this is not the first meeting that you have with a client. You've probably met them maybe once for coffee to say, hi, how are you going? Are we going to work together? The second one to get your brief so that you can tell them how much it's going to cost them. This is the nitty-gritty when you sit down and really go through what it is that's going to make it a successful project. Ask your clients to collect images of their dream spaces before this meeting. Some designers will send out a questionnaire. I don't tend to do that, but I think if I was 15, 20 years ago, I probably would make use of a questionnaire. They're very good for sort of listing their physical requirements, how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms, do they need a guest room, that sort of thing. But the nitty-gritty of how they want to feel in the space, that's what the project brief meeting's all about. Always meet in the space if possible, and meet out of hours so the clients don't have to get back to work, because these meetings typically will go for at least 3 hours. You want to make sure there's, some wine and some cheese and that sort of thing to get everybody comfortable, and not have the clients feel like they're under a time crunch. So just make sure it's as relaxed as possible. And bear in mind that your clients might be really nervous. Now, in different clients, this will come across in different ways. So I've had everything. I've had people who have never worked with a designer before, don't know what it is that's going to be asked of them, are worried they're going to say the wrong thing and they're going to end up with something that they didn't actually want. I also find generally those first 1 or 2 meetings, you might only meet with, say, one of the group that you're designing for. So generally it tends to be the wife or, one of the couple. And so this might be your first time meeting the other half, and they might not be as on board as the person who's already met you a couple of times and is already excited. So be prepared maybe for a little bit of pushback from the person you haven't met before. I always explain why the meeting's so important and what I'm hoping to gain, and that is for me to understand what they love. This is my opportunity to let them know this is not about me, this is about you. Anyone could give me carte blanche to do what I like, and every now and again I do get jobs like that and they're wonderful. But 95% of the time it's somebody else's home. You're not going to live there, much as you'd like to when it's all done. Touch on what style of communication is best for all parties. So let them know, look, I'm happy to take calls from you during work hours. If something occurs to you and you're desperate to let me know, send me an email. Let them know if you're happy to receive a text. Just let them know what the parameters are, or they will overstep them. Guaranteed. And any other previous conversations you've had, just go back through those points that you covered, especially for the other person who perhaps wasn't privy to those meetings. I always take a book and I make notes the entire time. So I don't leave it to the perimenopausal brain to remember anything. I always take notes. I even have sort of like a shorthand where I'll underline something that really got them excited. I'll put in inverted commas something that we just sort of used as a throwaway. I'll just have ways of writing my notes that when I go past them later, I go, yeah, okay, that was a moment, I need to pay attention. First questions, always start with family and lifestyle. So you want to know, how many children do they have? What are their names? What are their ages? What do the kids love? Are they sporty? Are they quiet? Do they like time to themselves? Do they like to be with mum and dad all the time? Because those things are really going to help you when time comes to do the design, especially if, in my case, I don't do decoration projects. I always do, maybe designing a home from scratch or reworking a floor plan, or putting a major extension on. So for me, it's my specialty is spatial planning and that sort of thing. So those kind of things are really important. Share and connect. I always worried that as I got older as a designer, I would become, obsolete, and people would just go for the younger, thinner, blonder model. Although I'm blonde now, so it's all good. But your clients do grow with you. So I've found that age isn't a problem, and it's especially good to let your clients know, yes, I've got a couple of kids and I've designed houses for us at every stage. It means that you have an idea of what they're going to need in the future as well, because I find a lot of people that are extending, it's primary school age children. That seems to be when they pull the trigger and go, right, this is the time to get it done. Talk about any previous homes they've had and projects that they've done on those homes, and get a feel for what worked for them and what didn't, and what they enjoyed about the process and what they didn't, because that's kind of giving you a little bit of a heads up of how they're going to be to deal with and what sort of things you need to be mindful of. Use the existing space as a jumping off point, and why did they buy the home? What did they love about it? That's always my question. What did you love about this house? And get very excited about what they loved, because it's so important, especially if they are a bit nervous, that you validate their decision and you validate their purchase. I've walked into plenty of houses where I thought, oh, Lordy, why did you buy this? It's terrible. But that's an inside thought. And to them, I'm like, oh, I can really see what it is you love about this house. Get on board with what they're excited about. Ask for a tour and keep it positive. Again, just bring up, oh, I love this, and oh, I can see why you liked that. And, and when they bring up the things that aren't working for them, because obviously that's why you're there, you can empathise and go, I can see that could be a problem. Yeah, that's a great place for us to start. But don't go, oh, Lordy, yeah, I don't know how you're coping with this. Just, keep that to yourself. So priorities, non-negotiables, and dream scenarios. So I like a bit of big sky thinking in the project brief. Look, if money was no object, what would be the things that you would want to have in your home? It's a really great way of finding out what makes their heart happy. My whole thing is, what is going to make them walk in and go, live here? That kind of thing. So if they tell you what their ultimate dream is, it gives you a great indication, even though you're going to take it back, a certain number of steps until they can afford it. You're still going to know what it is that, tickles their pickle. Very important to understand those things. So have a little bit of a dream scenario if you want tats. Also master planning for the future. So you might be there just for one part of the project. You might not be doing the whole thing, or the project may have, a 5 to 10 year plan. Always find out what the end goal is, to make sure that when you come back to, the first step out of 6, you're doing the right thing that's then going to flow on to what they're doing, so they're not double dipping later down the track. Also talk about value, and it's not just value in terms of money. Obviously people don't want to overcommit and spend too much money, but I talk about value in terms of how their family is going to live in the space, what it's going to mean for their family, what it's going to mean for their friends, the value they're going to get in terms of lifestyle. And if you can get them on that very emotional level of what it's going to be like to live in this space with their family, they'll open up that little bit more about, what it is they really want to tell you. It's very personal. I mean, I ask clients, who do you get ready at the same time in the morning? Do you need double heads in the shower? Are you actually la 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 in there at the same time? Like, it's a very personal experience. So the more you can do in this project brief to make them feel comfortable and make them open up to you is always going to help down the track. Talk to them about comfort zones and just a little gentle reminder that we are there to push them out of those, that otherwise they would have done it themselves. So trends are not a dirty word, because they can often help your client articulate what it is they like and why. It's up to you to then get to the nub of their like of that trend and then make it personal to them. So it's not about saying, well, we're going to go for California cool and that's all we're doing. you just keep making it personal, and it's got to be what they love. Identifying what they don't like. So if you write this down, ladies, if you don't remember anything from today, remember this. Finding out what they don't like is more powerful and more profitable for you in terms of the time you spend on the project than anything else you can ask them. So if you find out what they really don't like, you won't make those missteps where you go in the presentation and you show them something you think is amazing and they immediately go, oh, I hate that. And it chips away at their confidence in you, and it chips away at that relationship that you're trying to build. So right from the word go, what don't you like? I say to clients, put me together images of spaces you look at and go, do not want to live there. You'll work out what it is. It's the same when you ask a client to put together images of spaces they do love. They'll go, oh, these are really random, don't they? They just say, oh, these are random, oh, I don't. But you'll always see that through line. You'll always see what it is that's consistent. And you can pick out parts of their images and say, what is it that you really like about this, and get them to expand on that. Same with what they don't like. What is it about this you don't like? And let them expand on it. And they're the notes that you write down. It's so powerful. So it's what I call the sweet spot. So listen more than talk. Still haven't mastered that, but I'm giving it a red hot go. Encourage and empower and be curious. So I'm all about empowering my clients. Not every designer wants to work that way. Now, Lara and I have worked with designers in the past that would present something and the client would say, and why are you presenting this? And she'd go, because it's beautiful. And that would be it. And if they wanted to change something, she'd say, well, if you don't want it to be beautiful. And it was, whoa, okay. Empowering your clients to make them feel like they are part of the process and part of the design process it's really powerful in terms of what they get at the end. So if a client even comes halfway close to coming up with something, I get them there. And this is all I did the whole time on House Rules. Like, they all thought it was their designs. Don't be ridiculous. But you've got to make them think that they're part of it. And because if they feel ownership of what you've come up with at the end, many's a husband has stood around at a barbecue and told all his mates, I don't know why we had to design it, because I came up with half that stuff. It's actually great as an outcome because they really enjoy the process, and then they recommend you to their friends. And I've had so many clients over maybe the last 5 years that I'm now doing their second and third houses. So just letting go of ego and going, it's not about me. If they think they came up with it, that's great, because they're far more likely to buy in. Read the room and pivot if needed. So when I talk about something and I can see, you see the client sort of do this bunny in the headlights, and you've got it wrong. Beep, beep, just moonwalk back out of there, backtrack as quickly as you can, but be upfront about it. So I'll say to somebody, oh, you like that idea, but you're not loving that, are you? And just be open about it and go, right, you don't love that, that's fine, we can do something else. Let them know at all points that they can say, that's not my bag. Let them know that the communication's open, you're not going to be offended, you're not going to throw a hissy fit. I mean, you'll bitch about them to your bestie in the car on the way home. We all do that, and that's fine. You just don't need to do it to them. So pivot if you need to. Mirror their words. So I find that, design's a language. We all speak it, we all understand it. Clients don't. So the words that they use to describe the space they want to be in, use those words. So if they say cosy, but you actually think it's elegant, use cosy. So use those words back to them so that they know, oh, she gets me, she understands me, because I'm pretty good at this. Oh, this is great. So mirror that language. Consolidate and sum up the vibe. So make sure that, by the end of that project brief, you then do a little summary and say, look, this is my understanding of where we're at. I'm feeling that what you're telling me is da-da-da-da-da. Am I right? Am I wrong? anything else you want to add, and let them know, look, this is going to permeate in your brain for the next few days, and I don't want you to panic if you then have a wobble and think, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or I forgot to say this. Shoot me an email, give me a call. We'll constantly check in. That sort of checking in on the project brief is something that you'll do, all the way through. Be excited about their ideas and contribution. So it's more about them than it is about you, because when you get to do your presentation, then you get to tell them your ideas. But in the project brief, it's actually not about your ideas, it's about theirs. So these are the things I use if things aren't going particularly well. If I feel like I'm just not quite getting the buy-in from them, I don't have enough information. So when I do the look around the house, I always try and get a look in the wardrobe, always. Sometimes I'll just ask, if the feeling's right. You want to see what colours they wear, because you want to know, do they wear pattern? Do they wear colour? What do they feel great in? What's their favourite dress? What shirt do you love when your husband wears? That sort of thing. Because it then gives you something to back up if you want to introduce colour. I can see Katrina go, yep, colour, yep. If you want to introduce that, if you already have a base of, but you love wearing pink, you look great in pink, why won't we paint the ceiling pink? It'll make your skin look amazing. Why don't we do that? So everything that you come up with, you have to link it back to them. Not necessarily to a design style, but to them. It's got to be personal. Also, what colours don't they like, for the same reason we talked about the images. Pop culture references, they always dreamed of a Nancy Meyer's kitchen. Do they want, Sally's New York apartment from When Harry Met Sally? Like, is there a movie or a TV show that they watch constantly just for the sets? Is there something like that they love? Favourite places to travel. You can't have a client say, I love going to Morocco and Egypt and Turkey, but I'd like my house to be white. Call bullshit on that, because that's not where they're happy. Their happy place is not in a white space. It's with colour and movement and all sorts of things going on. Favourite restaurant, obviously we all know that those commercial spaces, they start the trends and we all follow them later on in residential. So if there's a particular cafe that they love or a restaurant that they feel really good in, find out and then get home and Google it and look at the images and try and work out what is it about that they like. Many's a cafe I've not gone to because the interior makes me feel sad. Soundtrack. Now, this is one we used a lot in House Rules when we were trying to, get to the core of what people wanted. What song do you want playing when you walk in the door? What's the vibe? What's when you walk into your house? What would make you feel, yeah, this is my space? I even very early in my career won a cafe job with, I had the client come to my home to do a presentation, and my presentation was I turned the stereo on and I played one song and I went, that's the vibe. And he said, job's yours. And it was just one piece of music. So there's other things at your disposal. Make sure there's lots in your arsenal if you're feeling like just the chat is not, pulling it along. Make it clear it's not about you. So when you get to design presentations, when you do your mood boards, always include a few of their images, because you want to go, oh, I think you were just spot on with that one. I love that. It might just be, you like the frame of something, but let them know, oh, I love that. So pop that into your mood board. Make them feel like, oh, this is great. Always present each scheme within the framework of their brief, and that's what I mean by bringing it back to something they have said, something they've indicated, something they've shown you. And that's why taking the notes is so important. Always bring it back to them. So amplify their ideas and desires in their language, and that ownership and collaboration build confidence. Introduce your big ideas early and gauge reactions. And I think most of us know, the minute we've even looked at the real estate listing of a house, we already know, oh, I'd love to do, A, B and C. I might look at a space and go, oh, man, we need to put in a second story. Spiral staircase would be amazing there. Oh, what if we did it in like hot pink or yellow or something? That would be great. So very early on, as a throwaway line in that first project brief, you throw out something a bit bonkers that you already know is going to be the moment. Gauge their reaction. Just do it as a throwaway so they don't think, oh, good Lord, she's going to put a bright yellow spiral staircase in our extension. So just leave it there. Just park it. Just park it. Always keep your finishes samples loose for that first presentation. Don't ever go with, it's stuck on a board. Then they feel like they've got nowhere to go and they don't want to ask you to change anything because you've got to rip it out or do a new photo or whatever. I always keep some samples in reserve in another little box that I can switch out. Of course, there are only things I want to use. It's like showing a toddler 2 different meals and say, which one would you like, darling? You want them to eat either of them. So make sure you've got those in reserve. Be clear about your inspiration and direction. Again, I remember in our meeting you said this and that really stuck with me and I thought that's a great way to go. I was really inspired by that. So now I've done this. Be confident and flexible in equal measure. So you want to present things, you don't want to be apologetic about anything, you're excited, but you're also, if you can tell there's something they're not vibing with, just call it out. Just say, what's your least favourite thing here? Because we could probably tweak that. And so always, be flexible and have fun because, it's going to get stressful down the track. So I thought I'd show you just a couple of case studies of projects I've done. This is not my work, this is the before shots, where I was given a brief and how we developed that brief to come up with what we ended up with. So this was a coastal beach house for clients that I'd already done their city residents, and I've now done a third project with them, and that they are in very high-powered, very serious jobs, but they're not serious people, and they wanted their getaway where they entertain their family and friends to be really light-hearted and really fun and feel like a holiday destination. So, and they love colour. So it was wide open. It was like, the only thing that they really stipulated was they didn't want anything that reminded them of the 70s. They're a few years older than I am, and I find more and more, especially because, as my clients raging with me, I use nostalgia a lot. Nostalgia is really powerful when you're coming up with a space for somebody. You think about what was a really great time in your life and what was the visual kind of vibe of the time, and how can I put that into a space that's just going to be this kind of touchstone for the clients to feel good in that space. So I thought, well, if they don't want the 70s, let's just go to the 80s and let's just, make it fun. So they had a very drab entry hall. The bathrooms were all builder basic. It had been built in the early 2000s. The layout was atrocious. They had a great plunge pool and outdoor area in the front yard. The only room that looked onto it was the study, and there was no physical connection. You had to go out the back and around the corner, and it was, So they were all about, the whole driving force of the project was we want to have that connection with the pool and with outside. So I moved every room around, which was lucky. So this is what we ended up with. We ended up with, a lovely colourful entry space where we had secret doors that had all their storage behind, had all their wine in there. They needed to do a lot of work from home. We did this during COVID. Most of it was done over Zoom. I just kind of hold up a tile and they go, yeah, that looks great, it's fine. But trying to sort of sell, pink joinery in a study, I was like, well, when you're on Zoom, you're going to look amazing, so the light's going to bounce off the pink, and, I just kind of kept picking out things that I knew they loved from conversations that we'd had, and just pushed it as far as I could. They like patterns, so we did some wallpaper. But it was just about making it really fun, and it was also a budget job because it wasn't their everyday home. It was about making, cheap and cheerful decisions. So all of the joinery was just melamine board. It was all pretty simple. Now you can see in that end photo, the bedroom, there's now a sliding door here that all runs along the front of the house now that goes out to their pool. I wanted to do, a colour drench, and I wanted to do a wallpaper. So I brought this back to the whole feeling of water. So they were absolutely fine with the idea of just wrapping blue over the ceiling and having, a water look wallpaper, because everything that I presented under that sort of, framework of our initial brief, and what their driving force was for the whole project was that connection to the pool. So I didn't have to reselect anything in this job. The very first presentation I showed them, we didn't change anything. So this is in the bedroom now, where you go out the sliding doors. They now got a master ensuite. They didn't have an ensuite before. And again, just, blue terrazzo floor tiles, blue laminate, anything that just kind of had that pool vibe. But then I brought in all the other pastels by doing the pink tiles and the pink Robert Gordon basins. Again, everything was off the rack. The arch cabinets were just off the rack. The joinery was done custom, but again, it was just, it's melamine board. It's the cheapest thing you can use. Family bathroom, again, just a $60 floor tile in green. Just used it to throw another pastel in there, why not? The laundry we put in a cupboard in the bathroom, and I love tile bench tops. I'll tile anything I can get my hands on. But again, I just proposed pool tiles, nice and cheap, easy to lay, 50 by 50, come in great colours. And again, they were like, sure, it's all about the pool tiles. I was like, tick and done. And the whole project had that vibe all the way through, because we did a really deep dive at the start, and because I pulled on that nostalgic kind of, the 80s were a fun time for a lot of us. So that ended up being a really fun job. This one was one of those homes that you walk into and go, this is probably the worst design of a space I've ever seen. This room, at a guess, I should have looked at the drawings before I came, is probably nearly 9 or 10 metres wide, but it's nearly 20 metres long. And it had the kitchen in the corner and the living room. That door down the end there is for the master bedroom to open directly onto the dining room. Nice. Then there was a little TV room and the entry hall, and that was all one big space. So it was like being in an airplane hangar. The fellow who'd built it, and I dare say designed it, was a plasterer. So there was beautiful detailing throughout. You can't see it in these shots, but I mean, how many downlights? Oh God. They're the work of the devil, aren't they? But all the plaster cornicing and everything was beautiful, and there were, ceiling roses and all that sort of thing. But it was dire. It was so drab. This particular client, I'd already done a house with them when their kids were in primary school. She loves colour. I think it's lovely when you get a client who's very close to your own personal design style, which she was. So it was such a big job. It was so overwhelming of how we're going to work this out. First, I worked out all the spaces, and I used half of that other room to create 2 other studies that worked as an ante-room before you got to their master bedroom and that sort of thing, just to make the space work better. But we needed a theme, for want of a better word. So we made up a story. I thought this space reminded me, purely because of the plasterwork, and again, I had to go on the positive. I didn't want to go in and go, oh, such a mess, what are we going to do? I went in with, this makes me feel like I'm in the top floor of a 1910 Parisian apartment block, and you've got the whole top floor, and it's all open. This is what it feels like. Plus, she had pictures of the Eiffel Tower hanging around our house. So I knew I was like, right, okay, that's the whole travel pop culture reference. So I said, why don't we approach this as if we are in the top floor of a Parisian apartment block, and we need to make this cosy and colourful and work for your family. They entertain all the time, and when I say entertain, we're talking 30 to 40 people multiple times a week. They're extremely generous people. It's an open door. All the young folk in their church have been told, You can have your weddings here, you can have your 21sts here. They did it as a, they do all their Bible studies there. It's a space for everyone to enjoy. So no bling, because they're not ostentatious people, and they were actually a bit embarrassed that they had this amazing big house on acreage looking out to vineyards. They've got sheep, it's the whole thing, circular driveway, it's amazing. So, but they were embarrassed about that. So the whole idea was it can't be blingy, it can't be shiny. And again, I'm writing notes, no bling, no shine, no sparkle. So everything had to just be like saturated and coloured and a bit of patina and a little bit of that thrown together kind of look. It couldn't look too done. So these are really bad photos, sorry, because they haven't been fixed up. So because the kitchen was always going to accommodate so many people, we just made that enormous, but you were no longer walking about 3 metres from one bench to another. There's a big walk-in pantry. We did a nook for, family meals. Did some beautiful, black steel detailing with reeded glass so that you got a little bit of separation in that massive space, just so that there felt like a story and there was still things to discover, because you used to walk in, it was just like, it was just, there you go, that was the space. So we created just a sense of discovery in the house, and that bench top of pink terrazzo in the middle, it's destroyed because they don't care. It's just like there's lemon juice and there's wine, and it doesn't matter. They live in their home and really enjoy it. So again, it was really, really dark. They'd put a 3 metre deep veranda on all 4 sides of the house. So I thought, well, we need to chuck a huge big hole in the ceiling and actually get to see. So we've got a whole bank of 6 skylights up there. Again, we just tried to keep with, we use vintage furniture, nothing matched. None of the sofas are the same. I think we had one matching set of chairs, pair of armchairs, that was it. So everything just had to have this, old and a little bit beaten up and, a little bit hand done. She loves a bit of, milk paint on old bits of furniture, so we did all that sort of stuff. So again, we just kept coming back to this little story we had, and every time we were making a decision, it was, does it feel French? Does it? So that's why we used a lot of rattan, light fittings and things that just gave it a little bit of texture and had no sparkle and shine. So we used a lot of wallpaper, 3 different areas we used wallpaper in the same pattern but in 3 different colours, because again, we wanted it to be somewhat cohesive. Everything in this house was, so all of these rooms are all pink. So the ceiling, the features, the trim, everything, we colour drenched everything. All the kids' bedrooms are colour drenched, so that the detailing of the cornices, it actually stood out more when it was all the one colour, but it looked modern, whereas before it looked really daggy because it was, it was white. So the bathroom, I was like, oh, how about we do it red? She was like, sure. So we did, the doors all red and all the trim, and, I said, let's not put joinery on the vanity, let's do a skirt, let's do all that sort of stuff. So, Breton stripes in her little study. She was up for everything, but everything came back, it had a French feel to it, and it just kept us on track. Otherwise, we could have ended up all over the place. So using a theme within that project brief is a really good way to keep things cohesive, and not just, I'm doing this because you like it, I'm doing it because it's kind of part of our overall thing. The best thing I can say about this project is when they have a lot of friends over, a lot of the men will take the husband aside and say, how do you okay with all this? Like, this is a lot. And he says, this house is a visual representation of my wife. And I love my wife. Why would I want to live in a space that is her? And I was just like, I'm done. All right, I can retire. All good. And that's it. Thank you, ladies. Questions?
Any questions?
Questions?
Any thoughts?
You can ask me house rules questions if you like.
I can just use a big voice.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Penny.
Hi, Penny.
I find that I work with a lot of indecisive clients.
Yes.
And I find that balance of presenting them too many options.
Yep.
And then presenting them one option that they go, that's not it, but
Yes.
I don't know what I don't want.
Yes.
I'm trying to help them be part of the decision-making
Yes.
process.
Yep.
But also showing that I've got confidence in presenting the options. What do you suggest about doing that with more?
That's why I bring every decision I've made in my presentation to them. I tell them why I made that decision. So if I, bring out a terracotta tile, I'll say, when you told me that you love going to Italy, I thought, what's something that's going to give you that feeling? Oh, yeah, it's terracotta tiles on the floor. So everything's got a reason. And I've had some clients that have wanted to question me on every single decision I've made, and I love those because I have thought of it, even if you've got to make it up in the moment. So I won't show any more than 2 schemes. So when I go to do a presentation, I'll do 2. Or because I keep the samples loose, I'll make an amalgamation of what they like. But I've already done that back in my studio. I've already got those 2 schemes and I already know what goes with what. And I also know what's in my little extras box, what will elevate it or relax it. So if you've got people who are indecisive, if you make your presentation and your decisions about things that they have told you about them, they're like, oh, she listened to me, she hears me. So always bring it back to them, and I find you can't go far wrong. But also making sure they know that you can recognise when they don't like it, and it's perfectly okay. Always just say, if you don't love anything here, it's not a bother. Just let me know. But once it's locked in, it's locked in. So, I'll generally do at least 2 meetings, maybe 3 that are part of the presentation process. I spend a lot of time, and that's just the way I work. A lot of people like to go, here's the scheme, let's go. And then the client can feel like they're like, oh, some clients love that. They just want to be shown and go, thanks. So in the project brief, that's why you work out what kind of client is this, and do it from there.
And a follow-up, if you find that you've got a client who's really nervous about committing to the process.
Oh, yes.
And the overwhelm is real.
Yes.
And you're presenting and you're kind of getting stonewalled all the time.
Yep.
Do you suggest just like taking a pause and being like, let's pull it back to where we started? Like,
Yep.
Do you need to have some more time to do your own research? Like,
Yep.
what's the next step without being too pushy?
I mean, it's great if you can, you can feel that they're not on board. That's half the problem. So as long as you can recognise that, it's all good. The next part's easy. I say think about it for a few days. Or I love to do presentations before clients go on holidays. If they say they're going somewhere, I love to do the presentation before they go. I go, now you'll have something to chat about around the pool. But I never rush people. If I feel they need a couple of weeks to think about it, and I always say to them, it'll just be ruminating in the back of your head. Just let it run, If it's something like a finish, especially if it's, maybe it's just a paint colour and you've got 2 options, I always say to them, stick them up on your wall. After a week or so, when you walk into that room, I want you to start noticing which one you look at first. The one you look at first is the one we're going with. So same with, say, tiles on the floor, leave them a couple of tiles, pop them on the floor and say each time you walk into that room, which one pulls your eye, which one do you look at first? If it's a big decision, if it's something that I always, if it's wallpaper or it's paint or anything like that, I'm like, let's just throw caution to the wind, let's go. I always say if it can be fixed in a weekend, don't lose sleep over it. If it's tiles and stuff like that, obviously. I also say to my clients, if you're not a little bit terrified about at least 2 of our selections and 2 of your decisions, I'm not doing my job. And guaranteed at the end of the job, like the yellow spiral staircase, that you throw back in later on when you're almost done and you say to the husband, something neat, you've already gotten to the black spiral staircase and you're there at a meeting and you're going, I feel we need a bit of something here. And early on, I don't know if it was your idea or mine, I think you said it. What if we just went for your favourite colour and just did that in a bonkers, and that's when the husband goes, it's all me, it's all me. So as long as you're cognizant of how they're feeling, then I just back, just go, I'll let you think about it, and then come back to me and we'll have another chat. And that's why when you're doing your fee proposals, always allow extra time for this process, because it actually makes then the rest of it easy, because you've given them all the time that they needed. But the fact that you can work it out, it's designers who can't work out when a client's not on board, that's an awful place to be.
Do you have any other questions?
Yep.
I might just that's okay.
I'm just curious as to how many projects you might take on at once.
Yep.
And sort of the time frame, so that you can allow yourself to really keep, digging in.
On track of it all?
Yeah.
When I was super busy, so before I went on House Rules, I was really busy, and I would have had, and I'm just a one-woman show, so, and I still manually draft, like I'm that old. So, and I do all of my own documentation and everything, complete control freak. So I would be doing 7 or 8 projects at a time, and that was kind of pussy's bow. That was enough for my head. Now, I fancy myself a semi-retired lady. I can't afford to be, but I just really want to be one. Probably 3 to 4 at a time. And again, the most amount of time that I put into the project is at the start, and is getting that brief right. So that's what I mean. That first meeting can easily go for 3 or 4 hours. The next one, where we present, easily 3 or 4 hours. There'll be another presentation meeting after that where we start, and sometimes I don't present the whole job in one go. I might start with the minor rooms. So I might start with maybe the laundry, the mud room, the kids' bathroom. I'll start with the things that are easier and they're less invested in. And then as we build confidence, I will then build up. And by the time we get to the kitchen, it's what I saw in that first meeting, but they would have been terrified had I said it at the start. So it depends on the job, and it depends on the client. So, and then they're not overwhelmed. If you present a whole house in one go, they can't remember what you talked about, what they decided, and the next few days they're just in a fog going, I've said the wrong thing, oh no, she's going to go off on that tangent, I didn't mean that. So maybe break it up. Smaller bite-sized chunks is often easier. Takes more time, but that's just how I operate, and it just makes it such a personal journey, because it's more time you're spending with them. By the end, they're yours. They'll let you do whatever you think's a fair thing. And that's when you get projects that you look at and go, I'd move in there. My house is nowhere near that fabulous. Does that help? Yeah. Anything else?
Beautiful. Any other questions, thoughts?
Look at you all so quiet.
Well, that's kind of it for question time. Again, we will have a moment during our grazing break period. If you have any thoughts or questions for Carolyn, please feel free to ask. But thank you so much. That was really amazing. Another round of applause for you. That was really, really awesome. Yeah, I feel like we all took a lot out of that.
Did I go way over?
No, you didn't.
I kept looking and no one was telling me to shut.
I was almost at the stairs. I was almost going to, and then you said, no, I'm done.
And we're done.
Right? I took that out of my hands. So that was really great. That was really, really awesome. Nice. So yeah, now we'll just open up some time for grazing break, fill up your drinks, have some sandwiches, the sausage rolls, take a look around. As I said, we're all here to help. And if you have any questions, please ask. We'll have Matt kind of go through our warehouse sale as well. We've got currently a sale at the moment online, so he'll talk you through that, as well as our home show appearance over the weekend and a few other things. So yeah, feel free to grab some food and mingle. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
So a product that we are exceptionally excited to be launching this week at the Melbourne Home Show. Come and join us on Friday, Saturday or Sunday and see it in the flesh. It is our M+Co electric fires. The M+Co is a beautiful piece of furniture that you can actually put in your living room, dining room, bedroom. It will generate about 1.5 to 2 kilowatts of power. Basically, at the end of the day, it means that you can actually heat a room. Just like a buffet, you've got storage solutions there. The great thing about this is that you can actually, with the touch of a button, go up in heat, down in heat. Even during summer, you can actually use this. You can have the flame on without actually having the heating element to it. This is the Grange in 3 sizes, 180, 210 and 240. Alongside the Grange is the Ashton. This is a model that comes in a 180 and a 210 width. Once again, you've still got those storage options just at the side. You've got your little remote control so that you can turn on and off. Very, very easy to navigate throughout as well. These are a selection of what the finishes are available at this time. We're looking to grow this range. Obviously, it's been exceptionally popular and been received exceptionally well out there in the marketplace. So watch out for the Emberark, and we look forward to seeing you at the home show this coming weekend. At M+Co Living, we're proud to partner with Canadian brand Gus Modern. I'm sitting on one of their popular sofas here at M+Co Living. This is called the Mix. It is a build-your-own modular sofa. The standout with this particular sofa is that it is made from this. So the leather that you see is vegan apple skin leather. So what that basically means is that they take the skin from the apple, they then upcycle it, and they then create an alternative leather. Very, very popular in the fashion industry. We've then put them on furniture. Under your leather, you've then got FSC certified timber, so Forestry Stewardship Council, where you know that you are getting the very finest timber. The quality of this is sensational, as well as knowing that you are making a contribution to the environment. What you are sitting on are thousands of upcycled PET, so you're actually saving a hell of a lot with landfill, as well as a really comfortable sofa to sit on. Also, make sure that you go to your members area and look at our exclusive offer as a thank you for joining us today. It is a special offer. It will be part of the rewards page in your member portal. Now to the members area of the website. Go to the right hand side of the top of the website, type in your email address, click on sign in. You'll see the dashboard with your recent quotes and orders, as well as a rewards section where we have rewards waiting for you as part of a thank you for coming today. Just check your email address if you cannot see your login details for the members area. We hope that you've enjoyed from the comfort of home. Next time you are in Melbourne, make sure that you come in and see us here in the showroom. We're open Monday to Friday. We've got a selection of all of our product at M+Co Living, including our partners in Gus Modern. We'd love to see you. In the meantime, make sure that you tell all your friends, tell your clients about M+Co Living through the socials. We hope you've enjoyed this series of Lunch and Learn. We look forward to seeing you soon. So from all of us here at M+Co Living, thank you very much for